Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. I am Joe and I'm joined here today by the crew of the Hyperion. That's right, it's going to be a bit of a solo cast as we get ready to go into our first game here today. The series is of course going to be RPI versus UCRD. These guys are two of the UCSD, I'm sorry. These guys are two of the strongest teams in their respective group here. I believe RPI has dropped only a single series to UConn, and UCSD is completely undefeated. They also go by the name Triton Gaming. So this should be a really fun series. Lots of high-level play, and I can't wait to see what's going on. Our first game here should be a lot of fun as we have two high-level players spawning here into Abyssal Reef. It is in the top left-hand corner, the red Zerg player, Spaceman. And his opponent in the bottom left-hand corner, it is Light. Looks like we've got a bit of a ZVZ to start things off here. A really volatile matchup. I would expect Light to be trying to play things maybe a little bit safe. He is the higher leveled player, the favored player here in this game. His opponent, Spaceman, actually going for a super quick hatch before that 14 supply. Getting the gas going, getting the spawning pool going. Might be looking to do something funky here. And we can't blame him for that because, again, as we did talk about, he is a Masters player. It looked like he was in Masters 3. I did take a glance at his profile. He's shown us some good games, but he definitely struggles against the high-level GM caliber player that Light is. Lickite? He does have a Q in his name, but I'm just going to pronounce it Light. We got that speed on the way for Spaceman. That's going to be a pretty quick speed out here. He's going to have the ability to move across the map with a lot of Zerglings, probably with the goal of sniping out his opponent's hatchery at the front here. It is Abyssal Reef, so that is a decently sized rush distance. If Light can kind of sniff out what's coming, that should give him time to get a good defense going, or at least make whatever decisions he does want to make in trying to defend this. There comes the flood of lings we were talking about from Spaceman. He's going up to 12 lings already, rather. And that should basically guarantee a hatch snipe with good micro, assuming this continues to go unscouted. But he's still flooding lings as Spaceman. It looks like Light going to come up in here, get the first whiff that something could be wrong as he sees the massive ling count. And every alarm in his head should be going off right now. This is way too many lings for this stage in the game here. It is cute that Spaceman put a couple drones up there, but you're definitely not going to be fooling Light here, who's already getting those spine crawlers going. He's mass pumping lings of his own. He knows that if he holds on here, he can be in a fantastic position at nearly double the work count of his opponent. But holding on is still a tough order here as Spaceman continues to mobilize across the map. It does look like getting a couple of these lings for free. Anything you can do to make this fight easier is going to be great for Light here. He does have Queen's hold positioned on the ramp. Lings are going to try to target down these spine crawlers, but I think Light is going to be just content to let them die, using the transfuses to keep those queens reinforced and trying to build up a healthy enough ling count to come down and fight this. Now he is going to finally fight this with a couple of lings behind it, and this is just a really good hold out of Light, as Spaceman finding absolutely no damage. Even the drone pull, I don't think a single drone went down. Okay, a single drone goes down, but that is not what you're looking for that kind of hyper all-in attack. And Light is now getting up banelings of his own. That's going to make this defense even easier. I think this aggression is basically over, and Spaceman just in a horrible position. Down 7 workers at this stage in the game. That snowballs as you get further and further on so horribly here. And Light is actually now at the higher ling count as well, feeling content to move across the map. Try to put some counter pressure onto his opponent. He knows he was making nothing but units here for a while. There's a decent chance Spaceman is going to be forced to try to drone up to catch up after that attack did so little damage. Light going to clean everything up at the top of this ramp here. and just dive right into that mineral line. Actually even managing to deny that spine crawler before it gets up, and G is called. Terrific first game there out of Light, putting USCD 1 point ahead here and showcasing why these guys are undefeated so far here in the CSL. That was just a really high level of play out of him. Really impressed to see that coming out of Light. RPI gonna have to take a breather, see if in their next match with Jon Snow they can pull out a win, but that's going to hurt as we start things off. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with Jon Snow versus Flume, which should be another terrific match.
But she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell. But I got a feeling and my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the CSL. We are going to be hopping into our second game with UCSD, already being up a single map here, taking out Spaceman in a really decisive style by his opponent. Super well done by them. And our next match is going to be Jon Snow versus Flume, a ZVP, as luck would have it. And that is going to be Battle on the Boardwalk, which should be a lot of fun to watch here. Just because I think Jon Snow, heavily favored, maybe the best player in the CSL right now. So to see that on Battle on the Boardwalk is going to be good because it's kind of a funky map, and that's going to give Flume maybe some strategies to try to make something happen. So without further ado, let's jump into our game here, and spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have our red Zerg player for RPI. It is Jon Snow. And his opponent in the top right-hand corner, the blue Protoss player, it is Flume. A little bit of banter going on in the lobby before we got started here. Flume saying, please don't cheese me. Jon Snow, I don't think is like a prolific cheeser, but he certainly is kind of the king of low drone macro gameplay. It's like he likes to be aggressive, super aggressive. They're, 3 base, 4 base builds, but sticking on a lower drone count than you might expect with that. Lots of run-bys, trying to force mistakes out of his opponents. So Flume is going to have to kind of hold on against that, or bring something else of his own to the table here. It looks like he is going to go for that early game probe scout. It's battle on the boardwalk, so you can never be too careful here. Jon Snow getting that quick hatch, or actually I think it was a pull first into the hatch rather. And Flume on the other side of the map already setting up some infrastructure for this gold base. And this is what I was talking about. You can get a lot of trickery by on battle on the boardwalk. You have this weird kind of in-base gold that has to go through all of this space over here. But it's not a particularly vulnerable base just because you have to knock the rocks down to get to it, or you have to invest in some kind of Overlord drop type technology to be able to hit it early in the game. And right now we've seen no indication that Jon Snow necessarily wants to be doing that. He's getting that speed out. I think he's probably playing defensive, probably thinking I'm significantly the better player here, and I should just try to play things safe and take him out clean. Of course, as I say that, Jon Snow does start getting that evolution chamber, which should be hinting towards that Overlord drop potentially. That style has been popular in ZVP we've recently seen. Just lots of aggression, dropping absolutely everywhere. It's upset the meta quite a decent bit here. Flume on the other side of the map just getting that warp gate out, looking to be taking that gold nexus as soon as he has the minerals for it. And that's going to help his income boost a lot as long as he can survive off the back of what Jon Snow is doing here. Jon Snow already getting 2 dropper lords ready. And has he seen this, or does he just... Oh, okay, so this is such a smart move out of Jon Snow, because even though he hasn't seen the base and confirmed that there's anything here, even if he just drops lings in here, he has a run position into the main that his opponent is probably never going to see coming. And if there is a base here, it's just absolute gravy for Jon Snow. This is going to be really tough to defend against. 1 shield battery already coming down here. And this is the first indication that Flume is going to start worrying about what is coming his way. 8 lings here. The Adept can maybe find a position where he can try to defend against this. It's going to be a bit of a micro and positioning battle here, but with the second wave of lings, suddenly things looking a lot more grim for Flume as Jon Snow continues this attack here. He's got to try to knock down that pylon, get some more surface area on this Adept. It can fight really cost effectively, but without Warp Gate, there's not a great way to reinforce this here. And that pylon going down means reinforcements are ages away. Jon Snow also attacking at the front, and it's looking like Flume may just be crumbling to this pressure here as the front wall does go down on battle on the boardwalk here. This Nexus completely sacrificed, and Jon Snow just making absolute mincemeat out of his Grandmaster opponent. I think this is kind of the difference we talk about when we see the difference between a Grandmaster player and a pro player. Jon Snow is shredding through his opponent right now. That shield battery is going to go down in just a moment here, and once that happens, the Lings are going to be able to get great surface area on absolutely everything. He also has reinforcements coming in from the south here. Flume is trying his best to hold on. If he can keep this base alive, he's not in a bad position. He has a significant worker lead compared to his opponent, but keeping it alive is going to be so hard. Everything that Jon Snow breaks through, and Jon Snow manages to break through, securing the GG, tying up the series, and getting that first one on the board for RPI. Super critical he did that, even though it might seem like an easy win. If Jon Snow loses that game, there's essentially no way that RPI can win this best of 5. So the next series is going to be our 2v2. That's another super critical game here in the CSL. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back with our 2v2 match. And keep in mind, whoever wins this series will come out in first in the group. That's going to be really important. You want to avoid Temple, probably the scariest team, for as long as possible. So we'll be right back with our 2v2.
but she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell, but I got a feeling and my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I'm no ghost, let me
Right from the start. to believer. Set my heart on fire. Never knew it could happen so fast. I swear I never saw it coming. I find it hard to let go. I'm so cold to the core. I never knew you could mean so much. Oh, you mean so much. Why you mean this much? I find it hard to believe.
Ladies and gentlemen, our countdown has started and we are getting ready to go into our 2v2. So we're going to be taking a look here. UCSD and RPI completely tied up with a 1-1 score. This is going to be a super important match for RPI. If they win it, they drastically increase their chance of winning. If they don't, it's going to be really tough for them because I think T-Fang plays next, who is a Diamond player playing against a squad of Masters and GM players. So we're going to be loading in here onto Overgrown Facility. Just keep in mind, RPI is going to be busting out their dirtiest strategies against their opponents as we prepare to start our third map of the series whenever this loading does complete. Looks like we do have a player maybe being a little bit stuck here, but we have started up the series. So without further ado, spawning here in the bottom left hand side, playing for RPI, it is our green Terran player, T-Fang. And the red Zerg player, Spaceman. And their opponents in the top right hand corner, playing for UCSD, it is the blue Zerg player, Light. And their opponent, or their teammate rather, in the bottom top right hand corner, Cloak. The southern top right hand corner position, I'm not sure what the best way to say that is. It does look like everyone here going to be starting up their production a little bit early. Spaceman actually going for one of T-Fang's gases. This is going to be really, really weird. I'm super excited to see what they have planned. Spaceman getting 2 hatches already. I don't know why he'd go for one of the... Oh, this is a thing that I did not know about. Go ahead and clip this, someone. Post it to Reddit. Apparently you can mine from your teammates' gases in 2v2. I have a feeling that RPI put serious preparation into this build just because I was talking about how critical it was. This game in the series, they know how critical it is. And they're going to be doing something a little wild to have that kind of thing pre-planned. On the other side of the map, their opponents looks like just getting speed out, or getting that gas up to speed rather. Pretty standard macro openings. They're double Zerg, so you typically would expect maybe a Ling Flood or some kind of Ling Roach attack. In 2v2, that's the meta we've seen so far. But I don't know if they're going to be quite ready for whatever is coming their way. It looks like, if I had to venture a guess, I'd say probably a lot of Hellions. That's going to control the map really strongly. Hellion Ling is just a super powerful combination. And if Spaceman can kind of abuse the mobility that the Hellion Ling combo is going to offer them, I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe pull an upset here. This is kind of the part where everything is just starting to get revved up. It's a 2v2, so it can be a little bit hard to follow all the production tabs here. It does look like Cloak is already flooding out those Lings. Light is going to go for a more Baneling-oriented style. He's got his nest on the way. I don't think Cloak has fired up his yet. And I do like this choice out of them. You have one opponent, or one teammate just kind of focus on getting Ling Flood constant production. The other one gets the Banelings out, and their job is to clear the Lings of their opponents, so that way Cloak can get a clean wraparound on top of the Hellions, because they kind of have to know this is coming here. It's arguably the strongest 2v2 strategy. It's been around since Wings, and it's just absolutely dominant here. A huge amount of Lings flooding out here from UCSD. If they can catch these first Hellions before they can start grouping up, it's going to be a major victory for them. These Lings are trying to get a wraparound here, and it looks like they actually are going to grab a couple of these Hellions and getting a couple more of them. It looks like these Broodlings going to have to dart back over here. The Hellions do finally manage to get back, but not without taking significant losses. This makes it so much harder to snowball. Spaceman does have a Baneling nest up, but these are the first Banelings he's just morphing now. Going to be really tough to make this hold here against all of these Lings without any Banelings. More Hellions are going to come in to reinforce. This is going to help clean up the attack, and this will be pushed back by RPI. They are rolling out with the Hellions here. Once again, trying to catch some of these Lings here of Cloak and Light. But Cloak and Light are doing a great job of always having the Lings on different sides of the Hellions. That makes it easier to surround, as we just saw. When you have the APM of 2 players, you can kind of be more tactical, have that spread going without perfect micro, because you only need to keep it on one side, and your teammate only needs to keep it on one side, instead of having like a constant split that makes the Lings hard to engage here. But now with the reinforcements of Spaceman, these Lings are going to be in a lot more trouble. The Lings of Spaceman can kind of run interference, play like linebackers for the Hellions, and we see those kind of roast shots go down here. One more of those, and suddenly the Ling count of their opponents is going to absolutely plummet, and that can open up some opportunities here for attacks. These Hellions actually doing a really good job here as RPI pushes up into the main base of their opponents. Even managing to cancel that Baneling nest would be huge. This drone line is very vulnerable. These Lings are going to get good surface area here, but Spaceman's own Lings are going to be right there to counter them, and suddenly RPI in a terrific position with this really cool build where Spaceman donates one of his drones early to get the extractor going, and suddenly this is just an absolutely dominant position for RPI. They've knocked out one of their opponents. Can they get a second one? Looks like Light here, getting Banelings up, trying to desperately hold on here. He does bleed out pretty much all of his Lings before this engagement even begins, and the Banelings can try to connect, but Banelings are so slow compared to these Hellions here. They're never going to be able to find a good angle of engagement unless T-Fang gets really sloppy, and so far he's been showing himself to be absolutely dedicated to the micro side of things here. These Banelings actually going to engage up a ramp, even with a good connection there. It's not going to be even close to enough, and suddenly T-Fang's okay with taking these shots. I think RPI has done it. They've given themselves a really solid chance to take this series going out of this group in first place here as they roast these drones down to the ground. This is actually a pretty big upset in the 2v2, as I do believe both Light and Cloak are higher level players than Spaceman and T-Fang, but sometimes teamwork is what you need to make things happen, and teamwork there was. Really good job by RPI putting their team in a 2-1 lead. When we come back, guys, we are going to be having our next match between Dragon God, I believe, playing for UC San Diego, and Training Wheels for RPI. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to go right back, be right back with UCSD's Ace versus Training Wheels.
but she said, trust me. These are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell. But I got a feeling and my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I'm no
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back. We are preparing to hop into Odyssey here for our fourth map. This is going to be a bit of a mismatch in skill, probably the biggest one we've seen since we started this series off here. It's going to be Dragon God versus Brilliant. Dragon God playing for University of California, San Diego, and Brilliant playing for RPI. Dragon God is UCCD's ace here. I would say probably heavily favored to win, but we never know. So without without any further delays, let's go ahead, hop into our fourth game. Spawning here in the bottom right-hand corner, it is our blue Protoss player, Dragon God. And his opponent in the top left-hand corner, it is the red Protoss player, Brilliant. As I was mentioning before, there is a bit of a skill gap between these guys. Dragon God is, I think, a high GM, University of San Francisco, California. San Diego, I said that wrong. He's UCSD's ace player on a team of really, really good players. On the other hand, Brilliant is a diamond player, but this is PvP. It can be a bit of a volatile matchup. Brilliant may have something crazy up his sleeve. I wouldn't fault him at all for trying that. So we'll have to see what he wants to get done here, as we do see him already adding on a couple of gateways. Going to be looking to doing some kind of poke. He's going to see his opponent doing basically the same thing here. And early probe scouts, pretty standard in PvP from both sides. I think we've seen a lot of this lately. And both these guys going to get the full scout off, know exactly what the other player is doing here. And I don't think it's going to be too much of a surprise to anyone. It's Odyssey. It's a map that kind of favors standard play, long rush distance, somewhat easy to secure third, but also easy to be a bit aggressive on. And we'll have to see what they want to do next. It looks like both of them still just sitting. Actually, no, it does look like Dragon God going up to 2 gas, so maybe we'll be seeing some kind of tech pressure out of him. His opponent's still sitting on just the 1, which I think makes him a bit more likely to sit on gateway type units. Dragon God actually going for a very early sentry, making me think he's maybe a little bit worried about some kind of pressure coming out of Brilliant, just wanting to make sure he doesn't die to anything too silly here. And it also gives him that constant scouting ability with the hallucinated phoenixes. Brilliant taking that Nexus here, wanting to get that safe macro style play going. Or rather, Dragon God taking the Nexus. Brilliant taking his a little bit behind his opponent. And Brilliant's going to have 2 Stalkers out applying pressure here. So he does have an opportunity to maybe get a small bit of damage done. His opponent has 2 Stalkers on the way, so he's not going to have a Stalker advantage for too long. But maybe he can try to make something happen, poke away at the front a bit. There is a vulnerable probe here. Maybe even just putting a bit of chip damage on top of this pylon. And now the second Stalker is out for his opponent. That sentry abusing the high ground vision to just do some tickle damage here. And Dragon God, feeling confident with his Stalker Micro, is going to come down. He does lose the pylon, but really cute trap here as that one Stalker flanks in from the north. I'm going to pick up the Stalker of Brilliant, and Brilliant runs home with his tail between his legs. This pressure is effectively over. Brilliant's next move is going to be getting that robotics facility out, not unlike his opponent, who is also getting that. Also taking a Forge is Dragon God, going to be looking to get those ground upgrades most likely. And both these guys continuing to macro up. Dragon God wanting to get the pylon up, get that shield battery repowered. You don't want any kind of unexpected pressure to really catch you off guard at this stage in the game. And just to be extra sure he's safe, we do see the hallucinated Phoenix coming off. This should get basically an uncontested scout here as it darts into the main base. These Stalkers trying to keep up, but can't keep up with Phoenixes when you're Stalkers. Looks like he's going to get the 100% scout here. So Dragon God knows exactly what his opponent is doing. First Immortal on the way out. Adding on more gateways is Brilliant. I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of gateway unit attack with those Immortals backing it up. And that's probably going to be his best way to try to make something happen. When you're playing against a really high caliber player, I don't think you want to necessarily take things to the late game. They're going to want to just be safe. The later the game goes on, the more mechanically demanding it becomes. And that gets really, really tough. But even if you're a diamond player, if you have one really, really sharp build, your dirtiest, sharpest build, you can try to make something happen. And this looks like it's going to be a Century Immortal push here. With 2 Immortals, that Warp Gate is already on the way. He does want to come home and clean up these Adepts before he moves out. This is actually going to buy so much time for Dragon God. It's going to take a lot of the punch out of the attack here. Force Fields actually go down to trap the Adepts in. Definitely a bit cute here. And now comes the move out by Brilliant with this small gateway force. He's going to have some really good micro to try to make something happen. Dragon God does have a decent amount of sentries of his own, so he can kind of counter Force Field. These guys can play map editor to their heart's content here. Brilliant is going to be taking that third, hoping this push, even if it doesn't do too much damage, will kind of buy him some breathing room to take that. And looks like these Stalkers going to be going up here, get scouted by the Observer. The rest of the army is really far behind, and these units are super vulnerable. Brilliant needs to pull back, but actually those Force Fields go down, and only one Stalker going to make it out. That was a lot of the firepower of this attack by Brilliant here. And I think suddenly he's in a bit of trouble as he's trying to make something happen. He's going to warp in a couple more Stalkers, and then he's going to try to make this attack work. But this is a tough one. He's going to need some really good Force Fields to try to pull some of these units into vulnerable positions here. And so far the Force Fields from Brilliant are okay, but the Force Fields from Dragon God are a lot better, carving that map up, preventing all of Brilliant's units from shooting at once. And once again, Brilliant forced back with no damage done. This is starting to look very dire for our Red Protoss player, as Dragon God is pursuing a bit. Brilliant actually turns around with some of his most expensive units. Dragon God, worried about a trap, turns around and goes home himself, playing very, very safe, not wanting to die to anything crazy as Dragon God. Does look like, at this point, Brilliant has managed to secure his third, so he does have that going from ahead of his opponent, but Dragon God just continuing to add on units, getting that Templar Archives up, the +2 attack. I think he's going to try to hit with a big charge lot Archon Immortal all in, and that's going to be really powerful with the +2. Looks like Brilliant will have his +1 by then, so it should only be a 1 weapon upgrade difference here. But Brilliant is not making units, and right now I think he needs to be making nothing but units as his opponent steps out for a kill. This Immortal drop is really cute, but a couple of warped-in Zealots is going to push that away, and now Brilliant needs every unit he has at home. And his units are so far out of position, he may just die here. No vision of this oncoming assault does Brilliant have. And here comes the attack from Dragon God. He's going to get right on top of that shield battery, targeting it down right away before it has a chance to help out with anything at all here. And I think Brilliant may just be dead as he's forced to sit at his third base. He does have this Warp Prism coming in with 2 Immortals, but I don't know how you deal with the firepower of your opponent here. These Archons even going to be chipping away at the Warp Prism shields, and the rest of Brilliant's army does come in to join him. He's got some units coming in from the north ramp here, and Brilliant force fielded out of his defense. The Warp Prism can try to ferry units over the top of the force fields, but Dragon God just showing absolutely domineering micro here, taking this engagement really well. GG is called, and Dragon God takes the game, bringing things down to the ace match. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. This is the last game of the series coming up. Both of our teams will have to choose their best players. If I had to guess, I would say we're likely going to see Dragon God versus Jon Snow, but it's tough to tell. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
But she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell. But I got a feeling and my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I know.
this will never be now, baby. Be now, baby. We're miles apart, and we just wanna let it free now, baby. Free now, baby. 'Cause I won't.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to our ace match here. Going to Game 5 in epic fashion is RPI versus UCSD. It's going to be Jon Snow versus Dragon God. Dragon God not getting a chance to flex his muscles too much in the last game where he just kind of handily defeated his opponent. But I think this game is going to be a much better test of his skill as we prepare to spawn in here. The score is 2v2. The winner of this map takes the whole series, and spawning in the top left-hand corner, playing for UCSD, it is the blue Protoss player, Dragon God. And his opponent in the bottom right-hand corner, the red Zerg player, it is Jon Snow. It does look like neither of these players opening with anything too crazy just yet. Jon Snow going for that hatch first. Dragon God, his opponent, just looking to get his wall up. Not going for anything crazy economical. Jon Snow likes to be aggressive. I don't know too much about Dragon God's playstyle. Although I did read in the chat, I believe Powerfo was saying, or maybe Sugar, that he likes to Immortal Archon charge lot all in every single matchup. So we did kind of see the beginnings of that in the last game. It didn't go to too late of a stage in the game where he, like I was saying, really got a chance to show off his skills. But we'll have to see if he can make things happen against Jon Snow here. Jon Snow, the favored player, of course, playing for Storm when he's not playing for RPI. Probably the strongest or maybe second strongest player in the CSL, depending on kind of what shape the people in Temple are on. And I think that he's got a really good chance to secure first place for his group. He did say that we're not going to lose any more series from this point on. And there's no strats left to save Jon Snow. So no excuses if he does drop this map to Dragon God. It does look like Dragon God here, just continuing to hold it home, getting that Cyber Core out. Catalyst is a map that it's really easy to defend your natural on, and a lot harder to take a third and fourth just because the distance between them can be really tough to defend them, especially against an aggressive player like Jon Snow. I don't know if that's going to be influencing Dragon God's playstyle at all. Looks like he's going for the Stargate opening. I think typically we've seen you just get that Oracle out, and you get a Phoenix right behind it to kind of control the Overlords and control the map vision. Seems like a really safe, solid, effective opening, and you can get a decent amount of damage done with that Oracle here. The Adept catching these slow lings in the middle of the map is a bit nice. He's going to be able to deny Jon Snow any kind of vision or like scouting, aggressive abilities here. And this Adept is just going to be chipping away maybe at the third hatchery. Does confirm it's there, and maybe going to be shading into the natural main just to get a look at drone counts here. Yeah, it doesn't see anything that's going to be setting off alarm bells just yet here. That first Oracle. Oh no, straight into Phoenix. Did Dragon God go here? So it looks like he's just going to be using that to control the map. He doesn't want Jon Snow to be getting this full scout off here. The first Phoenix pops right out as the Overlord enters his main base. And Dragon God also dealing with a little bit of a Ling run by at the front here. Jon Snow actually continuing to be a bit aggressive with these Lings at the front. Maybe just hoping he can sneak through the wall of his opponent. This first Adept maybe a little bit out of position. Jon Snow thinks he might be able to go for it. But just going to get a clean up there is Dragon God, picking off a few more Lings for free. And Jon Snow did manage to get the scout off with that Overlord. Now the second unit coming out is actually the Oracle, so kind of a reverse of what we typically see here. And ooh, another Oracle behind that is definitely interesting. Jon Snow is aware that this is a possibility, so he is going to be getting spores at all of these bases. And he's continuing to, true to who he is, just be a touch aggressive with these Lings, looking for any kind of chinks in the armor of his opponent. Oracle is going to come up here, get one drone to force the cancel. Forcing out a couple of Evo Chambers from that drone is nice, but not going to find any real damage as that first Oracle here. Jon Snow now content to have a drone explosion coming in as he starts going up to 45 drones. And still making Oracles is Dragon God. So this might get a little bit cheesy here, as he's going to be going up to at least 3 Oracles, and behind this getting 2 robotics facilities. This is a cool style coming out of Dragon God. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. But he does need to hold off this attack from Jon Snow, who's putting pressure on the third base here. And there's a lot of damage potential here. A queen can be lifted with the Phoenix, and that can leave the drones opened up to a lot of attacks here. Who actually engaging that Spore Crawler is a bit of a micro misstep here from Dragon God, who's going to be forced to pull back with his small fleet. And is he going up to 4? Okay, it looks like he canceled an Oracle and then started again, then canceled it again. So I'm not sure what his game plan is there. Maybe just worried about a Wing Flood. And yeah, he is going to probably confirm that Wing Flood. He's seeing a bunch of Wings here. Jon Snow going to be looking to make something happen. The king of low drones. And he may be able to get a third cancel, or maybe even kill if this goes on for just a little bit longer. As this is all happening, though, Dragon God manages to sneak in and get 7 drones. But he does trade out his 2 Oracles as all of this is happening. It looks like he'll be able to hold on to his third here. At least so far, these Adepts are continuing to take good trades. But suddenly this Wing Flood is getting a bit scary, and the Adept's health is dropping very quickly here. More reinforcements coming in from the west side are going to be enough to drive this attack away. And Dragon God playing a really solid game so far. Only behind 5 workers as well is Dragon God, and this is a really nice position to see him in. He's actually up in supply count at this point, and he is just pumping out those Immortals 2 at a time here. I did mention that people were saying in chat he likes to play Immortal heavy styles, and it looks like we're going to continue to see that here, going up to 4 Immortals. I'm not sure if we'll go up to 6 after that. But there's a lot of potential there. Jon Snow, though, seems to have a bit of a beat on this because he's going for that Spire here. And Dragon God doesn't have anything to shoot up. That could just be GG. I think the only anti-air on the map is these 2 sentries. And that is correct. This could get really scary really quickly as Jon Snow goes into potentially a Muta Explosion as that Spire gets close to finishing up here. Yeah, even Charge coming out. For Dragon God. None of this is going to help him in a Muta fight. He has to do something to sniff this out, to get a read on what Jon Snow's doing, so he can transition. He does have a Stargate out. He can also get Stalkers and then get a second Stargate, and kind of hope that helps him hang on until he can get that 2 Stargate Phoenix production that will help him deal with the Mutas. He's getting Sentries, and those do technically shoot up, but that's not the unit you want when you're dealing with Stalkers. Mutas rather. He needs Blink. He needs to have things that shoot up, or this army is just going to get slowly whittled away from the top. I mean, failing getting good anti-air out, I'd almost love to see him just go for an attack and try to do some damage. Mutas will eventually clean up this whole army, but that's a lot of Immortals, and they take a long time to die, so he could definitely get some damage done. But Dragon God not trying to make that happen just yet. Now he's moving out across the map. Jon Snow knows he's going to want to catch this out in the middle of the map so he can start doing damage as quickly as possible here. Actually, maybe just content to go into a trading situation as Jon Snow, as he flies his Mutas completely across the map. He's making nothing but Lings and Hydras back at home, which is going to help him a lot with this defense. The damage is going to start going down. Dragon God is going to need to do a huge amount of damage of his own because he has nothing to deal with this back at home. And here comes the fight on Dragon God's side. These Immortals are going to help clean up a lot of his units at the front here. Jon Snow can't fight this. He needs to get back and wait for reinforcements. There is no reinforcement potential here for Dragon God, which is a little bit scary for him. Banelings managed to get connections with 1 Sentry. Okay hits here. But Dragon God needs to try to find a way to press this issue right now. He is hemorrhaging all of his workers at home. And even though he's trading okay with this army at the front, he hasn't done any economic damage yet. A couple of force fields go down, pinning in a lot of these Hydras. But Jon Snow does manage to pull a few of them back. And Dragon God needs to try to make something happen. Every second that goes by is so scary for him. walking by actually what might be a free base is Dragon God. I'm not even sure what he would want to go home for. It's not like any of this is going to be particularly helpful in defending against the Mutalisk harass that's coming out against him here. But maybe just not feeling confident pushing into Jon Snow's position here. He does manage to clean up the fifth base rather, but not in a great position is Dragon God after taking all that economic damage. And I wouldn't be surprised to just see him add on a few more Archons and probably just go for it. Here comes the Mutas pressing him once again. There is now a high enough Stalker count to deal with this. Jon Snow was smart. He didn't overcommit into Mutas. He knew that his opponent would have the tools to eventually get up this attack. And Jon Snow maybe looking to be going up to Hive here. He's also got the Lurker done out. And with Lurkers, this becomes really, really hard to break into. It's not impossible. Immortals can sometimes just overpower the Lurkers completely here. Looks like this Muta count may get cleaned up eventually, as there is an Archon left behind for the defense. Now Dragon God also has this Warp Prism to try to get some units going. The Hallucinated Colossus is super cute. If it can soak a couple of target fire rounds, that can be really helpful. The Immortals have to try to make something happen against these Lurkers. I don't think Dragon God can just kind of dance around the edge of the defensive perimeter, although getting Jon Snow down to 3 bases could feel nice. You're still going to be dealing with a really scary Zerg army that you have no way to kill now or in the immediate future. Jon Snow in a really nice defensive position here, and Dragon God going to be pressing up into this. A lot of these gateway units just dying immediately, and the Ling Hydra Lurker is overpowering. I think that's going to be it for Dragon God. RPI looking to go out of this group in first. The GG is called. Dragon God loses. Jon Snow takes the series for RPI, and his prediction is proved correct. They did not drop a single map since Jon Snow said they were not going to drop a single map. So that has been our Tuesday night broadcast for CSL. Definitely a lot of fun. Thank you for joining. Thank you to our sponsor, Twitch, for helping to make things happen here. If you're watching and you don't have a Twitch account, go ahead and make them. Tell them you signed up because of CSL and that you appreciate them supporting collegiate esports. Thank you guys. Once again, that is going to be it for our Tuesday night broadcast. We have one more regular season broadcast coming up this Thursday, I believe. And after that, we get ready to kick off into playoffs. So be sure not to miss it. We will be here on Thursday night. Thank you and have a terrific evening.
Final call is called.